Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Diane Jones, and I own a bridal salon called White Satin. On my left is a beauty salon run by my good friend, Margaret. I've owned the business for 5 years and am doing great business, as is Margaret. We are a great team, bringing in business for each other. Let me tell you about a true story about a couple that came into my salon about 6 months ago. Now that in itself is unusual. Nicole had booked an appointment on a Friday at 10 a.m. for her dress shopping for her upcoming wedding to her fiancé, Tim. Both were about 27 and had been dating for 2 years. Nicole was really excited about her dress shopping, saying it looked like I had the best selection in town, judging by my online website. I was flattered and looked forward to meeting Nicole. Imagine my surprise when Nicole turned up with Tim, not her best girlfriend, Rebecca. This was most irregular for a groom to see a bride's gown before the wedding, but Nicole explained. Diane, I'd like you to meet my fiancé, Tim. My best friend called me and canceled this morning as she is very sick, upset stomach. I called around a few girlfriends and they are busy at work or with their kids. I really needed a second opinion, and so I called Tim. Tim is off Fridays anyway from his work, and so I called him. He was shocked at first, saying it was bad luck to see the bride, but I explained and told him I was desperate, so he relented and here we are. Tim was a nice-looking man, not overly tall or muscled, but a fine catch for Nicole. Very handsome and with short blonde hair. Definitely a contrast to Nicole's long dark hair. And so I invited Tim to have a coffee while I escorted Nicole to the back room where I had laid out 5 choices of gowns for her and also told her to feel free to browse the racks for anything she likes. Tim got his coffee and sat on the big brown couch, ready to give his opinion on the dresses. And opinions he gave. He didn't like any of my selections, or 3 that Nicole chose herself. Seems they were too straight or too slim or not poofy enough. Seems Tim likes poofy gowns that show off a girl's curves with exaggerated skirts. He also rejected several as not being satiny enough, whatever that meant. Nicole was furious and so was I. What did he know about wedding dresses anyway? After an hour and a half of trying on dresses, Nicole changed into her jeans and blouse and barked at Tim. What a dick you are, Tim. I've spent over an hour trying on beautiful gowns to look great for you at our wedding, and what do I have to show for it? Nothing. You are so insensitive sometimes. I'm going out for lunch to meet Sue and cool off. You can go to the nearby mall and check out DVDs or whatever, I don't care. Meet me back here in 2 hours and please try to be more sensitive. If you continue like this, I may postpone the wedding, Tim. Geez, if you like satin so much, then why don't you try on a dress with Diane here in the meantime? Ha ha. And with that she left. Her parting comment though gave me an idea. I decided to go for it. I still don't know why I said what I said to Tim. Tim, she is steaming mad. She really was muttering in the back room about calling off the wedding. So I have an idea, Tim. Bear with me. It may seem unusual at first. I laid out my idea to him. To say he was shocked was no surprise. No way, Diane. No way. You seriously want me to dress up as a bride so when she gets back I will be showing empathy for her? That wearing a dress will make it plain to her that I know what she is going through? That she will definitely go through with the wedding if I do this? Are you nuts? I've never worn a dress before and I don't intend to now. Tim, let me make it clear. She is furious and will most likely call the wedding off. Trust me, you don't want that, do you? The solution is simple. Just dress as a bride and when she sees you and what you've done, she will forgive you and all will be well. It will be a terrific show of sensitivity. The marriage will go on as planned, and Nicole will be a beautiful bride for you. Okay, Tim? Okay, but this is silly. But I love Nicole and can't lose her. This better work though. I had him. Little did he know he wouldn't be wearing just a dress but would wear all a bride does, inside and out. That was why I said there were no dresses quite in his size, even though he was slim. I lied. I wanted to see him all done up. So I picked smaller size dresses, saying he would need a corset and bridal lingerie to complete the look. But first I told him he can't look like a bride from the neck down and still have a man's face. That was when I led him next door to Margaret's salon, leaving a back in 10 sign at my closed shop. I explained to Margaret what was going on and whispered to her that Tim should have whatever it takes to look like a woman from the neck up so he can match his bridal gown later on. Margaret smiled, welcoming the challenge, saying she had made over a few men in her salon, but never a man into a bride. I smiled and returned to open my shop. It took an hour for Margaret to work her magic on him, and she was a marvel with makeup and hair. Tim came into my shop and I gasped. I couldn't even call him Tim anymore, as he now sported a woman's head on a man's body. Tim was wearing a beautiful honey blonde wavy wig with perfect straight bangs. Made of real human hair, it came halfway down his back, instantly transforming him from man to woman. But the bridal makeup? Superb! Margaret had even plucked his eyebrows into a delicate feminine arch, telling him they would easily grow back and could be added to later with makeup to look more masculine. Tim's cheeks were soft and smooth with a light rose hue, soft pinks framing his eyes with shadow, false lashes adding to his own thick lashes with plenty of coats of mascara. They really made his light blue eyes pop and look so feminine. Pink lip liner, a lighter pink lipstick and gloss made his lips positively glisten and look oh so kissable. Tim looked embarrassed. He told me that when Margaret showed him the result in the mirror, he couldn't believe his eyes. He not only passed as a woman, but he made a lovely woman at that. I told him he looked gorgeous, but a bride doesn't wear jeans, does she? And so Tim's dressing as a bride commenced. I told him that calling him Tim was not appropriate now. So I jokingly called him Tina and began calling him Tina for the next hour as I dressed him, calling him a she and a her as well as the hour passed. Tina wouldn't let me shave her legs, saying her legs wouldn't show under a gown anyway, and I relented. But that was it. I told her she would wear all a bride wears underneath as well, as the dress wouldn't fit right or sit right. And so Tina was soon in ladies' lingerie for the first time, trading in her boring gray cotton boxers for a white satin and lace brassiere and matching white cheeky panties in white satin. I told her the brassiere was necessary to give her a proper figure for the dress, and panties would smooth the dress out, unlike her boxers. Then I explained a corset was necessary, as her gown wouldn't zip up without it being laced. Tina let out a sigh and reluctantly let me tight lace her white satin corset. I tugged and re-tugged, bringing her waist down 4 inches from 32 to 28. Tina could barely breath but took it like a man. Especially when I added sheer white silk stockings up her legs and gartered them to her corset in 6 spots. But the fun wasn't over. I was really enjoying this. And Tina was shaping up to be a beautiful bride. Next up, a white net crinoline for Tina, followed by 3 satin petticoats with net trim. Tina sure had the poofy look she had admired before and had asked Nicole to wear. It was time for what every girl dreams about, the dress. I'm sure Tim hadn't anticipated he would be in a dress when he entered my salon this morning. Tina was really blushing as I helped her into the gown, her first dress. She stepped into it and I laced the back, but the poofy skirt was too much for her to walk in, and I agreed after I had to pick her up a few times after she fell a few times in her unfamiliar 3-inch heels and enormous skirts. That was when I got the idea of a mermaid wedding gown, giving her the poofy dress below the knees, but without the big petticoats and wedding skirt. Tina was soon in her first mermaid wedding gown, out of the petticoats. On top the dress was a line with sleeves and her boobs were covered by the lace overlay. Down the back were a long series of corset lacings, which I pulled tight, giving her an hourglass figure. And of course down below her knees, the dress flared out with the built-in petticoats. It was the perfect dress for her. Poofy but not too puffy, letting her walk without bumping into anything, though her gait was quite restricted in the mermaid style, making her walk quite daintily. She was a vision in white satin and lace. I had a hard time believing that this was the same man who had come into my salon earlier. I told her to sit down on the couch, gave her some flowers to complete the bridal image, and a cup of coffee to calm her nerves before her fiancé would be back. I told her she was beautiful and that Nicole's heart would melt at seeing her. That was the plan anyway. But fate had other intentions before Nicole returned. My son Tom came into the salon. I forgot about our weekly coffee and chat during his lunch hour. Tom is my pride and joy, tall and handsome but still single at 30. I was always after him to settle down and start a family, but he was the non-committal type and had a series of girlfriends. Anyway, in comes Tom, and that is where it got very interesting. Tom took in the beautiful bride on the couch holding flowers, and I could see he was smitten. He asked who the lovely bride was and took her hand, kissing it as he introduced himself. That was when Nicole returned and saw the whole thing. Perfectly innocent, I told her, but what she saw was her pervert boyfriend dressed up as a prettier bride than she was and being kissed by a man. That was when all hell broke loose. Nicole and her friend were pissed, calling Tim every name in the book. I tried to defend him by explaining how he was dressed was my idea, but to no avail. Nicole stormed out, saying the wedding was off and she never wanted to see Tim again, then as she parted for good, joked sarcastically that Tim made a better bride than her. Tim, or Tina as I now thought of him, was in tears at the end of his relationship. A day meant to help his fiancée had resulted in the breakup of all breakups. That was when my son took Tina in his arms and soothed her, telling her it would be all right. Tina's tears ebbed as Tom told her how lovely she was, that he couldn't believe she was a man at all, and that he had fallen in love with her at first sight. Tom got some tissues for Tina, then continued to compliment her, calling her the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Tom was an eye man and thought Tina had the prettiest light blue eyes he had ever seen. Soon, with further compliments, Tina was smiling and they were soon chatting together on the couch like old friends. That was when Tom kissed her on the lips in front of me. That kiss changed everything. Tom asked Tina out for lunch and she agreed. But of course she had to shave her legs and body before going out. While she was doing that, I picked out an outfit for her at the shop beside Margaret's salon. I knew what my son liked seeing young ladies in, and decided what the heck, let's make Tina a beautiful lunch date. When Tina came out all smooth, I soon had her in a pink bra and panties set, her first pair of sheer pantyhose, a pink camisole and a short black silk skirt that came to her mid-thigh. Tina walked surprisingly well in her first pair of 4-inch black patent pumps. I quickly sent her to Margaret's for a set of acrylic nails, pink to match her lipstick and blouse. I noticed her ears were also pierced and she wore big silver hoops. Tom and Tina went off hand in hand, Tom still taller than Tina, even in her heels. They returned 2 hours later, clearly having hit it off, still holding hands. Tom kissed her goodbye for now and said see you on Friday for their first dinner date. Tina blushed and said okay, looking dreamily at her date. And that is how 6 months later, I have a daughter-in-law, Tina. The one good thing besides being so proud of her and so happy my son wasn't a bachelor anymore, Tina didn't have to make an appointment to pick out a dress. Tina, on her wedding day, wore the same lovely mermaid gown, saying I do beside her fiancé, Tom. Now her husband, Tim the groom-to-be, was now a lovely bride forever.